Hi, thanks for joining us today. Today, I'm talking with Sarah Mosberg, who is our administrative assistant at LifeSpring. When you call our office, Sarah is the first person that you're going to talk to. If you send us an email, she is the person who's going to answer you. And before I introduce you to Sarah, I also want to say that Sarah is someone who gets tons of compliments. We hear a lot of feedback from clients who are just so impressed with how she takes care of them and how she makes them feel comfortable when they call our office. And sometimes as a practice, we don't always get feedback. Sometimes people just kind of keep that to themselves, but we've had people reach out and just to tell us how wonderful they think Sarah is. And in a little bit, I'm sure you'll see why that is as well. So welcome, Sarah. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Melissa. Thanks for having me.
So, Sarah, you are on the phone all the time, right?
Mhm.
You are available to talk to clients Monday through Friday from
Yep.
9 to 5. When people call our office, they're going to get a real human on the phone. And if for some reason you don't answer, it's probably because you're on another line.
Yep.
But you're on the phone for all of these conversations. So tell us about what that first call is like for people and how are people feeling when they're calling for therapy services for the first time?
Yeah, I mean, it can vary, with each person that's calling, but typically speaking, they'll call me just to see number one, who we have available. If they don't already have somebody in mind, it's kind of just starting the groundwork and seeing who we have available, what our services are, insurances that we take, just those kind of general questions. But generally speaking, I would say people are pretty not hesitant, but they're kind of weary of like, oh, I'm taking this first step and I need some help. So they kind of put their trust in me to help them through that process. So that's kind of why I'm here, just to help them take that first step.
Yeah, and that's something that is really important to us as a practice, right? We want to make sure that when someone calls our office, they feel welcomed, that they
Yeah.
feel cared for, that they feel like the response is professional. We don't want them
Mhm.
having to play phone tag necessarily.
Yeah.
One of the things that we talk about at our office is like, think about when you've called any kind of business and the person who answers the phone sounds like they just woke up off the wrong side of the bed,
Yeah.
or they never call you back. And so it is really important to us to make sure that people feel welcomed and cared for, that we can help answer their questions. So for you personally, what are some things that you are doing on the phone to make sure that people do feel taken care of?
Yeah, well, I would say the first thing is just trying to be empathetic, non-judgmental. I want everyone to feel like when they call me, they can just be open and honest. And I'm going to help them, figure out what's best for them. Even if we're not the best fit, we can always help find a good fit for them outside of our practice. So those are just kind of some of the things I'm thinking about when I get that phone call. And I'm also just trying to be aware of what place they're in. Sometimes it can be a vulnerable state. So just trying to be empathetic and, just listen to them and make sure that they feel respected while we're talking and, working things out over the phone.
Yeah. And what are some of the common questions that people do have for you when they call?
Sometimes it'll be, do you offer this specialty? Do you have any clinicians that have experience with this, whether that be trauma or anxiety, depression? And we do get quite a few calls about our brain spotting services. So just trying to figure out who's going to be a good match for that client. Other than that, I mean, I'll get questions about insurance. Do you take my insurance? What is that going to cover? So it can kind of go any way.
Yeah. And are there any things that you think people can do to prepare for that first phone call if they're really nervous about reaching out for counseling services? What are some things that people can do to be prepared and to make it as seamless as possible?
Yeah, my first suggestion would be just take a look at our website. We always update who is accepting new clients. So you can kind of start to see people's personalities, their specialties. I would say that's a good way to go just to get started. That way you can kind of have something in mind if you see somebody that you really resonate with. But if you're still on the fence and you don't really know who's going to be a good fit, just kind of coming in prepared with some of the things that you know you want to work on in therapy, or just why you're calling in general, that's always really helpful for me, just so I can, get you matched up with the right clinician.
Yeah. And even if you're outside of Maryland and you're like, well, this doesn't apply to me, LifeSpring is far away from where I live, you can still apply the same feedback that Sarah's talking about by really thinking about who you would like to work with. What
Mhm.
is your availability? Are you looking to use your insurance? What do you want to work on in therapy? And really checking out any practice's website to see if they're accepting new clients, to see what type of work they do, and is that what
Mhm.
you're looking for? So even if you're not in Maryland, you can use the same information to prepare.
Yeah, definitely.
So what would you say to someone who's feeling really nervous about calling and taking that first step to schedule an appointment?
Yeah, I've had a couple of those calls, and one of the first things that I usually say is just I try and reassure them that you're doing the right thing, you're taking the first step to put yourself first, and just kind of be there for them, and just kind of give them that reassurance that you're in the right direction, you're in the right place, and things are gonna go in the right direction for you.
Yeah, so I love that. So Sarah, I know that there's some feedback that you get on the phone, and that sometimes people are so happy that you've answered the phone. And I'm wondering if you could
Mhm.
talk about some of the feedback that you receive, because even though like we give people our phone number, sometimes they're surprised you answer. Tell us,
Yeah.
tell us about that feedback.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've gotten quite a few people that have, mentioned this to me, that they were kind of in shock that I even answered the phone. They've reached out to other practices, other providers, and they've either gotten no response or it's been months since they've heard back from somebody. And when I hear that, I just kind of I'm like, whoa, that's just shocking to me, because we really take the time to make sure that everybody's answered and everybody's taken care of. Like I said earlier, even if we're not the best fit, we still want to respond to them and make sure that they know that we're here, we've seen your communication, and we're here to help you. So that's kind of some of the feedback that I get, which can be pretty shocking, that other places aren't doing the same level of care that we have for our clients.
Yeah, and that is really important to us, and that is one of the reasons why you are here, Sarah, right? Because we want
Mhm.
to make sure, starting therapy can be a big decision for people, or,
Yeah.
like any goal that you have, when you have made the decision that I want to do this, you want the ball to keep rolling.
Mhm.
You don't want an obstacle getting in the way. And if you're not getting an answer, you're not getting a response, that feels like an obstacle interfering with your ability to move forward. So we want to make sure that if people have made the decision, hey, I'm ready to go, I'm ready to get some support, that we can make that process as easy as possible for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of going off of what I said earlier, I'll also hear from people that they just get frustrated that no one's working out or no one's getting back to them. So I think, when you're in that place, you don't want to feel like no one's listening to me, no one cares. So I'm glad that I'm able to be there for them and, give them that reassurance that, we're here and we hear you.
Yeah. Yeah. And because we are a group practice and we have a number of therapists who are at our office, we have different options for people based on different specialties, different
Mhm.
preferences for scale, for scheduling, or different things that people want to work on. But because we're a group practice, we also have some of those supports in place, like having someone who can answer the phone all of the time, Monday through Friday. And sometimes if someone is a solo practitioner, they can't answer the phone if they're in sessions. And if they
Right.
don't have an administrative support, then, it might be a while for them to respond. And so we really do want to make sure that at our office, people know that we prioritize, answering your phone calls and getting you scheduled as quickly as possible.
Yeah,
Um, so that is definitely really important.
definitely. Yeah.
Yes. Now, Sarah, you had also said that, sometimes we're not able to help people because maybe what they're looking for is not something that we offer. Like currently, we don't offer couples counseling,
Mhm.
and we still have people who call for couples counseling. And even if we're not able to help, you do still provide outside resources, because whether it's with us or with someone else, we still want to make sure that people are taken care of. And so one of the things that I know you've done recently, Sarah, is you have you've had a few meetings with other local office managers, other administrators to say, hey, let's get together, let's meet one another, let's learn about one another's processes for getting started, one
Mhm.
another's specialties. So that way, as a community, we can be working together to make sure that we can help people find counseling practices that are going to be good fits for them. Can you talk a little bit about some of the things that you've done behind the scenes to make sure that we have community connections and community referrals that we can share with people?
Yeah, so I mean, quite frequently I'm making connections and trying to network with people. Like you said, it's so important to have that network because you want to be able to have those resources readily available. And vice versa for the other practices that I'm in connection with, it's helpful for them to have our information in case they need to pass a referral over to us. So it's been really helpful to meet with other administrators, other, providers at other establishments. And even if we're just meeting virtually, it's helpful to have that connection and just to know that there's a network out there and we can support one another and more importantly, support our clients.
Right. So we get to help people directly when they are at our office. And even if they never work with us directly, that we can still be of assistance by referring them elsewhere.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. And Sarah, given that you are on the phone, what is your favorite part about talking to people who are scheduling therapy?
I would say my favorite part is just interacting with each personality. Everyone is so different. And, even though most of the time when people call me, they're kind of going through something, there can be some humor and people just want to talk. And it's just fun to interact with people and just kind of make that connection. And I feel, closer to the clients, even though I'm not, their therapist, not working directly with them. But it's just nice to have that connection and have that moment with them.
Yeah. And what would you say to someone who's kind of sitting on the fence? Like they're scared about calling, they're scared about scheduling. What would you say to those people who are a little bit nervous about picking up the phone?
Yeah, I would say just take the leap. I know it can be hard. I know it can probably feel a little bit daunting, especially because, even if you make an appointment at a doctor's office, a dentist's office, it can feel a little bit daunting to get all that stuff done before the session. But we're here to help you and we're going to make it as painless as possible. And I can promise that. And that's kind of why I'm here. So I would just say take the leap, make the call. And even if you aren't comfortable talking on the phone, we do have an online scheduling system. So if somebody wants to take advantage of that, we do have that in place. But I'm here to talk and I don't bite, so it's okay to call me.
Yeah. Well, and I'm glad you said that, right? Because some people have a preference
Yeah.
to call on the phone because they want to ask some questions.
Mhm.
Sometimes people want to talk with a particular counselor before scheduling.
Yeah.
So some people do prefer talking by phone so they can get answers to their questions, but you're right. They can send you an email if they have questions. And for people who don't like talking on the phone, because I think lots of people these days are like, I don't like talking on the phone with people
Yeah.
anymore. Um, that they can schedule online on our website 24/7. So
Yeah.
if you're feeling spontaneous and it's midnight and you decide at midnight that this is the time for you to sign up for therapy, you can go to our website and check it out and review those profiles and sign up.
Yep, exactly. And even if you have questions after that, I'm still available for that. So you can always give me a call. No question is too big or too small. So just feel free to reach out.